Greetings and salutations, one and all. I am Joe for Florida 14, coming to you from the alive and kicking 14th Congressional District in the still sunshiny Sunshine State. Do want to thank you so much for joining me today. And to quote that great Stain song, it's been a while. Yeah. Over the weekend, we had a very rude and quite uninvited guest come to town to stay the night in the form of Hurricane Irma. But thanks be to God, she was not as strong as she was projected to be. And when she took that last little wobble or jog to the right or east, she actually tore through a less populated area. So that is, again, thanks be to God. No casualties from Irma. Irma herself did not kill anyone here in Florida. Again, thanks be to God. We have lost some people, though. There was a chainsaw accident. Don't know if you saw that. Also, we lost 8 elderly people due to their facility not having air conditioning. So we ask God to have mercy on their souls and wrap his arms of comfort around their loved ones and survivors. Now, as much as we criticize our politicians, and believe me, they deserve it, but we do need to give credit where credit is due. So, need to say thank you to President Trump for having FEMA resources in place, ready to go before Irma even hit Naples. Thank you to Governor Scott and all of our local authorities for the open shelters and just doing everything they can to keep people safe. And in Irma's wake, thank you to all of our line workers and power workers who are working, some of them 16-hour shifts. Some electrical power people have even come from Canada to help us. So again, we thank each and every one of you, as well as, of course, our brave men and women of law enforcement. We think of the 2 officers we lost when they lost control of their car when there were only tropical storm conditions. So, again, a heartfelt, sincere thank you to everyone. Now, if you would, follow me on Twitter at Joe4FL14. That's at Joe, the number 4FL14. Would love to hear your feedback, good and especially the bad. Now, what I was originally going to talk about today, I'm not, because I have some thoughts on another subject. Now, what I was originally going to talk about was, Steve Bannon's interview on 60 Minutes, and I was especially going to focus on the swamp. But I'm not going to do that, because now I'm going to shift gears, and we are going to talk about Jemele Hill from ESPN and her Twitter tirade. Now, for those of you who may not know, Jemele Hill, co-hosts a Sports Center at 6 with Michael Smith. Now, these two are terrible. They are easily the worst duo ESPN has ever put in front of the camera. Jemele Hill knows nothing about sports. Okay, forget the fact that she went off on a Twitter tirade, which we're going to get to in a second. But Jemele Hill, she's terrible. She doesn't know anything about sports. She is not articulate. She's horrible. And again, you can say the same thing about Michael Smith. He's terrible too. Now, I haven't seen anyone this bad on ESPN since Rich Eisen. Okay, Rich Eisen was terrible. He's now on the NFL Network, and he sucks over there just as bad as he did on ESPN. How this guy still has a job is beyond me. But then again, the NFL Network also trots out Michael Irvin, so I don't know about that. But anyway, now let's get to Jemele Hill, what she actually said on Twitter. Some people are calling for her firing, which I think is justified, but not for the reasons that you expect. And I'm going to outline them in a second. What I first want to read to you are the tweets that she has since deleted. Okay. Now, these are on September 11th, and you know what a classless individual you're dealing with who would post this stuff on the 16th anniversary of 9/11. Again, that just shows you who you're dealing with right here. But now, let me read you these tweets. And these are word for word. Okay. Donald Trump is a white supremacist who has largely surrounded himself with other white supremacists. Trump is the most ignorant, offensive president of my lifetime. He is a direct result of white supremacy, period. Excuse me. He is unqualified and unfit to be president. He is not a leader, and if he were not white, he never would have been elected. Now, those are her tweets. My very first question is this. Is this her personal account that she set up, that she owns, or was this account set up for her by ESPN? That distinction is of paramount importance, because let's go back to when Tomi Lahren was fired by The Blaze for coming out pro-abortion on The View. The Blaze owned her Facebook account. She just lent her name to it. The thing was Tomi Lahren had over 4 million followers, 4 million likes, and she wanted to keep them. But again, that account belonged to Glenn Beck, The Blaze. Okay, so they're still working that out in court. We'll see what happens. But again, the thing of paramount importance here is this Jemele's account or is this ESPN's account? And again, that distinction is very, very important. Now, I believe Jemele Hill should be fired. Now, not because she's an idiot, okay, who went on a Twitter tirade. No, that's not why. I believe she should be fired for the precedent that ESPN themselves set. Now, what we're going to do is have Sherman set the Wayback Machine for April of 2016 when ESPN fired Curt Schilling over something that he posted on Facebook. Now, I have not seen this image. So what I'm going to do is I am going to read what the New York Times said on this day. Yeah, I know it's the Times, but just run with me here. Okay. Now, Schilling, who had worked for the network since 2010 and most recently offered analysis on Monday Night Baseball, was dismissed after sharing a Facebook post this week that appeared to respond to the North Carolina law that bars transgender people from using bathrooms and locker rooms that do not correspond to their birth genders. The post showed an overweight man wearing a wig and women's clothing with parts of the t-shirt cut out to expose his breasts. It says, "Let him in to the restroom with your daughter or else you're a narrow-minded, judgmental, unloving, racist bigot who needs to die." Okay. Now, this is what Schilling added. And again, I'm reading verbatim from the Times. To that, Schilling added, "A man is a man no matter what they call themselves. I don't care what they are, who they sleep with. Men's room was designed for the penis, women's not so much. Now you need laws telling us differently? Pathetic." This was ESPN's response. ESPN is an inclusive company. ESPN said in a statement, Curt Schilling has been advised that his conduct was unacceptable and his employment with ESPN has been terminated. Okay? Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to go back a little ways. Yeah. We're going to have Sherman take us to March 2016. And I am going to read this for you from the Daily Mail in the UK. Mike Ditka is replaced on Sunday NFL Countdown 1 week after calling Obama the worst president we've ever had. Ditka said Obama was a fine man, but not a leader on the Bernie and Sid show. All right, so I ask you, which is worse? Really? Because that's what this boils down to here, okay? Because you have Kurt Schilling, who did a Facebook post, okay? And what he added, probably PG-13. Not the worst thing you see on Facebook. Certainly not the worst thing I've seen today on Facebook, okay? And duck coach Ditka, saying Obama is the worst president we've ever had. Certainly not alone in that regard. Coach saying Obama is not a leader. This country needs leadership, it needs direction. It needs somebody that steps up front, okay? Now, those are the things that Ditka was fired from, okay? Now, I want to take you to one more thing, okay? Linda Cohn, legendary ESPN, oh my gosh, Sports Center and that, and oh my gosh, I've had a crush on her for years. Oh my goodness. Now, Linda Cohn, okay, Linda Cohn got suspended for saying that ESPN's politics are hurting the business. And this is from May of this year. Okay. Now, I want to a quote from Mediaite where she says, "You're right. That is definitely a percentage of it. I don't know how big a percentage, but if anyone wants to ignore that fact, they're blind." And she goes on to say, "I felt that the old school viewers were put in a corner and not appreciated with all these other changes. And they forgot their core. You should never forget your core and be grateful for your core group." She was suspended for that, for not fired, but not fired. Now, let's return to what Jameel Hill said about the president. All Jameel Hill had to do was basically say she was sorry, which she's not. Okay? She stands by what she said. So now ESPN keeps on a no-talent, terrible black woman. Okay? They suspend a legendary Sports Center anchor, okay? And they fire a baseball Hall of Famer and a Hall of Fame coach. Okay? Yes, I know Ditka's in the Hall of Fame as a player, not as a coach. But you get where I'm going with this. And so you have this blatant hypocrisy on ESPN, who, as we all know, is bleeding viewers right now, okay? They are in some really dire straits as far as viewership. I know as soon as I heard about this, I deleted the Facebook app from my phone. Not the Facebook app, the ESPN app. But you get the idea. So, again, and ESPN just doesn't get it. Okay? This is a part of Disney. Now, we all know how far left Disney is. And what they've done is drag ESPN with them to the left. And they're paying the price. And like with any leftist, with any libtard, they are too stupid to see what they are doing to themselves. They have no clue why. All they need to do is have their social media people look what people are saying on Facebook. Look what people are saying on Twitter. I don't have Instagram. I don't have Snapchat. But I'm sure the reaction is fairly the same over there. What's the problem here? Seriously. Because as a sports fan, I want you to tell me the score, okay? Show me the highlights and entertain me while you're doing it. What I don't want is your politics. I don't care about the politics, okay? Jemele Hill can say whatever she wants. I support that. I don't believe that Jemele Hill should be fired simply for what she said, okay? Yeah, she's stupid, okay? And she herself is everything that she accused Donald Trump of being. She's a racist. And so, again, I don't believe Jemele Hill should be fired for what she said. She exercised her First Amendment right to put her foot in her mouth. I support that. But again, ESPN set the precedent that if you color outside the lines, if you go off the reservation, you're in trouble. And it is because of that precedent, I believe, Jemele Hill needs to go. You suspended Linda Cohn for a lot less, and you fired Kurt Schilling and Mike Ditka for a lot less. But again, because Jemele Hill is a black woman, she gets a pass. That is hypocrisy. That is racism. And ESPN is going to continue to bleed viewers and bleed cash until they wake up and smell the coffee. I am Joe for Florida 14. Thank you so much for listening.